Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I will be joined by Ray Clifford any moment now. Ralph Schrager has a day off. He's locked in some room up in northern Maine, gathering information on the Jets and the NFL season. He's in hibernation. He'll be out like sometime Thursday. First thing I want to mention, too, I wish the New York Jets, God bless Woody Johnson, does a great job in tweeting. He's gathered a following and he tries to do some good things. But the Jets, they got to update their depth chart. I mean, I know they don't want to commit to what the depth chart is. They could put a disclaimer like unofficial depth chart, but they still have players that they cut that are on it. It just doesn't make sense to me, or players that are on the practice squad. If you go over to like an alternate site like I think it's Our Lads. I mean, they have a more up-to-date site than the Jets do. I wish they would do something. It would be more professional if they do. They do a great job in this film series they're working on, but they got to update that. And I think they're waiting until Thursday before the first game, but they've got to do something. Just put it unofficial. We all know it's kind of like old news that the Jets had made cuts, and everyone's making a big deal that 7 players were picked up. So all of a sudden, the Jets have an influx of talent. I don't put that much of an emphasis on the 7 that were picked up. I'm kind of an old-fashioned ones and lost guys. I want to see the wins. In my mind, I would, if I was the owner, I would do a George Steinbrenner. I'd give them a playoff mandate. I want to make the playoffs this year. But nevertheless, they made their cuts, as we all know. They have players on the practice squad, which we'll get into in a second. But I just want to mention there's some house cleaning. C.J. Mosley restructured his contract, and according to Rich Cimini, they turned a huge chunk of it into a guaranteed money, but it's spread out like a bonus. The negative is that in 23, his cap hit goes from 18.5 million to 21.5 million. So the chances are we might have C.J. Mosley around another year, which I'm not against it. I just want to see how he plays. The Jets have to go strong into the draft for linebackers. That's one of my weak links going into the season. It's and we spoke about it in the last show. To me, it's offensive line, linebackers, and even Ralph Schrager mentioned quarterback, which I agree. I'm not fully convinced about the quarterback situation. Zach Wilson, we were told that it's 2 to 4 weeks, and it's about 5 days past that 2-week, and they still won't come out with a timetable. Don't be surprised if it turns out to be 4 to 6 weeks, and don't be shocked if they end up putting him on the short-term injured reserve list, telling us that they want to do what's good for Zach in the long run. All right. Keep in mind, I'm the one that called it last year with Mekhi Becton. My co-host didn't agree with me, but I said, I don't think he's going to play the rest of the season. They both laughed at me. But other house cleaning, the Jets picked up 2 players. They picked up a defensive back, Craig James, don't know anything about. They picked up a linebacker, Chaz Surratt, former third-round pick from Minnesota, which is an interesting pickup just for the fact that he was a converted quarterback. He played quarterback at North Carolina. I kind of like players that show a lot of diversity and they could switch positions. I am not crazy about having players on the team, and I'm going to get right into the cuts right now. I'm not a huge fan of keeping players just for special teams. I think it's a waste of a spot. I think the days of having like multiple guys like Steve Tasker, who was a great special teams guy, is past. You need guys that could do more than one thing. And I'm not talking about like a Jeff Smith, who is a terrible wide receiver. They keep him around for whatever reason. I had said last year, or even before the season, if you're going to keep him around, he's a converted quarterback from Boston College. Put a little package in there, like just like Alan Brad Smith, and maybe he could do something. But he's been terrible in my mind as a wide receiver. And I was also surprised that let's see, what's his name as I look it up. Justin Hardy didn't get cut, who is supposedly a great special teamer. I think he's overrated. He cannot do anything in the secondary, which is what they list him also, besides special teams. I would have cut him, and I would have like put somebody else in that spot. It doesn't matter to me. I think it's a wasted roster spot. The only player I was a little upset about was Jason Pinnock or Pinnock. I thought the guy had something. I thought there was potential, especially when they moved him to safety. He showed something when he played there. So, we'll see how he does with the Giants. Denzel Mims situation. Listen, in my mind, there's no doubt that he has an immense amount of talent. He's got more talent than Corey Davis. The problem is it's above his shoulders. Now, comparing him to Corey Davis, Denzel Mims has a much wider catch radius. If you look at Corey Davis, the ball's got to be thrown right at him. And last year, he had too many drops. I know he lost 10 to 15 pounds. He developed is developing a good relationship with Joe Flacco. I'm not a huge Corey Davis fan. I'm not a huge Denzel Mims fan. I am just hoping some sort of light ignites and he'll play or go into the season with the desire that he had in the last exhibition game. Now, too many times Denzel Mims has lined up wrong. He's done dumb things. He stepped out of bounds out of the end zone and he came back in the game. He didn't know that he's not allowed to do that. I'm not sure what he was taught down in Baylor. This is basic 101 stuff. If he could get more intense, it would be wonderful if he ever panned it out. I mean, if he ever panned out, how many times do you get a receiver this tall and this fast and with the catch radius that he has? Again, I wish a guy like Denzel Mims had the desire of, let's say, a Wayne Corbett. Then you'd have something there. We'll have to see what happens as he's buried in the depth chart. The Jets didn't want to give up, or they didn't want to take anything. I heard less than a fourth, and they weren't really offered a fourth. So he's on the roster moving into the season. Ashton Davis, everyone is puzzled by this Ashton Davis. And I'm sure you heard the joke going around that they gave Ashton Davis his playbook and they told him to go up and see Joe Douglas. And he went upstairs and he took the wrong angle, ended up in the wrong office. And that's why he's still a Jet. But nevertheless, he is a Jet. I don't understand why, except that they have something for athletes like Ashton Davis, like a Jeff Smith, and like Chaz Surratt, the guy they picked up, the converted quarterback. This is a make or break year. He's got to show something. He's got to really, really turn it up. I think he can do it. The Jets are seeing him. The coaching staff says they see him every day and they know what he's about. I don't want to hear that, a guy like him and a guy like Shepard and a guy like, let's see, what's his name? The other lineman who they got from New Orleans. It's just Sheldon Rankins. I don't want to hear they're such great leaders. If they're great leaders and they can't play football, I don't want them. If all you're looking for is great leaders and locker room guys, then give Anthony Robbins a roster spot. I mean, what's the point? It just doesn't make sense to me. But listen, that's what they did. Uh, Nathan Shepard, I mentioned. This is one guy I don't understand why he's really on the team. It doesn't make any sense to me. And at this point, I would have rather had a guy like Tanzel Smart on the 53-man roster, though Tanzel didn't pounce on that last fumble in the exhibition season. But it doesn't make sense to me. And I mentioned on the last show that Sheldon Rankings was very unimpressive last year. He would have one oh my God hits and a nice tackle for a loss. But other than that, he was like useless. Um, Tony Adams is a guy that Ralph Schrager and I really liked coming out of Illinois. And he really did not impress the safety. He didn't impress us during the exhibition season, but apparently he had a good training camp. And according to Robert Saleh, he's a guy that improved every day, and he made it difficult for the Jets to cut him. I hope it's true. I hope he turns out to be the player Ralph and I thought he would be. We'll have to see. Now, with that, they cut Will Parks and they brought him back on the practice squad, which I'm a little surprised he got through waivers. He had a heck of a training camp, and he's a guy that we heard good things in training camp, and he really stood out in the exhibition games. So I'm glad they got him back. And you're going to see he's going to be up on the roster eventually. The other thing is we spoke about the weak spots, offensive line, linebacker, and even quarterback. The linebacker situation, I'm not a huge Quincy Williams fan right now. And again, I flip-flop with this guy. The reason being he's got incredible talent. He's got incredible push. He's got incredible speed. But he's a disaster waiting to happen for like the draw play and for like the screen pass. And in the last exhibition game on that third down, he had a personal foul out of bounds, which was uncalled for. He's got to get control of his body. On the good side, again, linebackers I think are very weak. I was very impressed with Jamie and Sherwood, number 44. He came back very quickly from an Achilles heel tear, and he looked outstanding in the exhibition season. I thought maybe he might be targeted next year to take over as the Mike linebacker, which is the linebacker that does the play calling on defense. Now the fact that Mosley had that restructure, he might be back. But I would try to get Sherwood on the field as much as I could. Also, Max Mitchell, I think, is going to be a good ball player. What happens with a lot of players, tackles, and offensive linemen come out of college, if they're talented and they have a good rating, usually it's the pass protection that they suffer at. All right. There was a player that was just cut, Wyatt Davis, who was at Ohio State. I really liked him there, but apparently it was the pass protection. Some players grow into it and some don't. The Jets have a player in the practice squad, Grant Hermans, who I've been touting since Purdue. I really like this guy. And this is the second year he's on the practice squad. I'm hoping he could develop into a ball player, make the 53-man roster. The other player I want to mention, everyone's favorite, and I kind of drank the Kool-Aid also. It was our quarterback in the exhibition season, Chris Trevler, who was outstanding. And don't forget, he's not that young. He's been around Canadian Football League. He was with Arizona. But what I would have done with Trevler, and I'm not a huge Mike White fan, I would have somehow got him on the 53-man roster I would, if I was Michael LaFleur, I would have put together like 2 to 4 plays, a package for this guy, like a Brad Smith or like a Tim Tebow. And speaking of Tim Tebow, if you remember, he was the up back in the punting formation. I would have done the same thing with Trevler. He could do it. He's built to do it. And I would have liked to keep him on the 53-man roster. But again, he went through waivers, so we'll see what happens. Another weakness I see in the roster, and I was so guilty when he came out of college. I had such high hopes. Brayden Mann has been such a disappointment. It behooves me how this guy is just not doing the job he was meant to do. I just think that, he's got to be better. And he's just not panning out. Okay, joining us, better late than never, is Ray Clifford, who's out in Ohio, but he must think that get confused with the central time and whatever. Though I think you're on the same time as us. Is that right? Or no?
Yeah, I'm on Eastern time.
You're not?
I am on Eastern time.
Oh, you are on Eastern time, which is really funny. But anyway, Ray, I want to get your opinion. I gave my opinion on the roster, but before we do, outside of the Jets, I just want to mention it's a great day for football fans and college football fans because they're going to expand the playoffs to 12 teams. You and me and Ralph have been lobbying for this ever since we came out of our mother's womb. It's just a great day. And they said it's going to be by 2026. Ray, my prediction is going to be more by 2024 when they realize all the money that's passing through between the players and the fantasy and the gambling and the TV contract. So give me a 1-minute summary on that, and then we'll get your opinion on the Jets roster situation. I gave the fans mine.
Well, it's been long overdue, and I don't know why the coaches and the NCAA in general has been fighting it for years, because you have so many bowl games that mean nothing, and just stupid bowl game. You only have to win 5 or 6 games. Now in that playoff with 12, that's higher than I thought. I thought they were going to go to 8, and they're going to talk about and have a possible vote on starting in 2024. But right now it's set for 2026. That's for sure. But I think
it's going to be earlier. They're going to see the money, the pot of gambling.
How did they? I don't know how they didn't understand the money. And they used to say, well, these, they can't do it at this level. Every level has done this, including high school, for years, except for the top level, Division I NCAA, acting like somehow it's harder for them to play playoff games. This will be the best thing. This is going to change everything. So it's going to be a lot more fun to watch. And there aren't any meaningless games once you hit the playoffs. Right. They're all going to be big.
Ray, I actually think whoever negotiated the last huge television contract, I guess it was for the divisions, including the Pac-10, for the $5 billion.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was like an impetus for getting this thing done. When they saw that amount of money, they said, why don't we just do the playoffs?
I think part of it is that they've gotten to the point where there's the Big Ten, the SEC, and the other ones are all second. They're adding so many teams that there's really, I think some of them are starting to go, well, we're going to be left out if we don't come up with something, because, right. Pretty soon, the Big Ten's going to have like 16 teams or more by the time they get all done. And the SEC, I'm not sure how many they already have, but they're adding, more all the time.
Right.
So,
right. And again, it's, my prediction, eventually there's going to be like a Nike division, an Amazon division, an Apple division, the NCAA is getting weaker.
The ESPN division.
Yeah. Ray, let's get back to the Jets, because that's what the Jet fans want to hear. Give me your take in like a minute about the Jets roster. I gave mine. I don't care if you repeat what I said. You didn't hear what I said because you weren't on the air. But go ahead. What's your take on it?
I'm for the most part, I'm pretty happy with what they did. I was a little surprised that they cut an eye, and I was a little surprised they cut Pinnock, and then he goes right to the Giants. But but they are excited about Adams. So we'll see, hopefully they're right on that. And I made it to the practice squad. So I can't say I'm totally upset with it. I was thrilled that Cager stuck on the team. To me, he would not have made the practice squad. I didn't believe. I think all in all, I think it's we have a decent practice squad. I still worry about the line. I think I'll always be concerned about the offensive line, but all in all, I think it's a pretty solid looking younger roster. And I bet we've still got some things to fill in, but all in all, I think it's good. I like what they did.
Do you think I've heard some other hosts mention they think having 10 defensive linemen, and we know that Robert Saleh loves to rotate. They think that that's too much. It's like one too many spots. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think you can have enough linemen on either side of the ball, to be honest with you. I was a little surprised that they kept Cager, meaning they have 4 tight ends, but he's probably going to be doing some special teams work or something, I would imagine, so that they can keep him on the, coming on the field and, justify his spot. But, I'm surprised they kept a few of the linemen they did. When we talked before, we didn't think Curry or Marshall or who was it? Well, Tanzel Smart is on the practice squad, but there were several that we thought could go. You always have somebody that you think is doing well, but they see them in practice every day. We're seeing them in games, so
right.
We aren't seeing how they look on a daily basis like they are. So hopefully,
Ray, I want to see wins. I want to make the playoffs. I don't care how well they look in practice. I don't care how much Jeff Smith hustles, the guy with alligator arms. I don't want to see Denzel Mims making these mistakes. If you're going to put him on the field, he's got to be ready to play. I want the darn playoffs. That's my mandate. I don't care. Woody Johnson, I'm more like George Steinbrenner. I said it at the beginning of the show. I want to make the playoffs this year by hook or by crook.
I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, but I just don't. I just, I want to see us take a big leap forward, but I think we're still got too many question marks and holes. Now, who knows? By the end, by mid-season or so, maybe I'll feel differently. But right now, going in, it was so hard to judge anything by the preseason games because we didn't have our offensive line together for basically until the last one.
Which is an issue.
It is an issue. And, the quarterback situation, we all know what that is. So we got a lot of things that got to be, either patched up or cleaned up. But you know what? Maybe 4 or 5 weeks into the season, if we got a couple wins under our belt and we're 3-2 or 2-3, I wouldn't say 3-2. That'd be amazing. But I think if we have 1 or 2 wins by week 5, I think we're okay. We're in the right direction anyway, because this is going to be this schedule is not on paper is not shaping up as an easy schedule. We don't have many gimmies on.
Right.
So
I understand. Ray, tell me if I'm overreacting. I mentioned it right before you came on the air. When he was coming out of college, I was like his biggest fan. Has Brayden Mann been that big of a disappointment, or am I overreacting?
Well, I don't know. I think it's too early to be disappointed on that. With the preseason, it's hard to say. We'll see what he does. In the he was in mid-season form, made a tackle in one of the preseason games, and they made fun. They said, "Oh, he's going to hear that in the
right
on Monday in the film." And I said, if I was there, I would have said, "Oh, not if they've ever seen him play. He can tackle." So
right.
In that sense, he looked like himself, but his punts weren't great. But I don't know. I just you were in mid-season form from the beginning of the first game of the preseason. So I wait till the season starts to start judging that stuff.
Listen, Ray, I remember when our past owner, Hess, what was his first name? Hess, what was his first name?
Oh, yeah, Leon.
Leon Hess got up when he hired, I guess, Parcells. He said, I'm 80 years old. I want to win now. I'll be 69 years old. I want to win now, Ray.
Well,
enough of this.
I understand wanting to, but I'm just.
I know, and you know, my
I'm looking at it. It doesn't pass the eye test for me at this. Look, especially every time we played the starters in the preseason, they were getting worked. So, but again, it wasn't the full offensive line. It wasn't it wasn't everybody. So that doesn't mean we've gone undefeated in the preseason before, and I had high hopes going into the season, and we completely stunk it up. So who knows.
Are you ready for Zach to go on a short-term injured reserve list?
You still think that, huh? I'm in week 2.
Well, that
was the guarantee you made. So
no.
I wrote it down. You guaranteed.
Okay. Before you came on the air, though, I said they told us the injury was 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right now, this past Tuesday was 2 weeks.
Right.
We're recording this on a Sunday, 5 days after 2 weeks. They still will not give a timetable. Why not? Why won't they give a timetable?
Well, all I've heard them say is he's not playing until he's 100%. So why do we have to ask that every day? How's he doing? We'll let you know when he's ready. I think he'll play week 2. That's what I believe. But I'd be stunned if he played week 1. I have no belief that he'll play week 1, but I do think he'll play week 2.
Robert Salas said all he needs is 1 good week of practice, and he'll be ready to start. Do you buy that?
Yeah, because it's not like 3 weeks or 4 weeks is going to make you like you've had the whole summer off or something. It'll take him a few practices and stuff to get back into the swing of things, but it's not the kind of injury where he's just laid up and can't do anything. So, he's probably doing some exercises that other than the leg and staying kind of in shape. So I think, a week and he'll be running around, get some throws in, and he'll be good to go. Now, that's not game action, so who knows how he'll look in a game. He might have some rust when it comes to live action, but that's going to be no matter when he comes back. He's not going to, a week of practice won't have him ready for full on blitzes and everything.
Yeah. Ray, I gave my take on Chris Trevler. Give us your take, the Jet fans. What's your feeling on him that he made it to the practice squad?
Well, I'm glad he made it to the practice squad. I know, he had everybody excited every time he came in, and he, comeback kid in the preseason. But, the reality was he was also playing against mostly third teamers. But, he brought some fun and excitement, and I'm glad we were able to keep him around because, if anybody does go down, he's somebody I wouldn't mind seeing at least on the sideline. I don't know what it'll look like if he got in a game against starters, but he's a competitor. He's fun to watch. You can tell he just likes to compete out there. So I was happy he's on the practice squad, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Yeah. All right, Ray, I think we're going to wrap this up. We're going to try to have a show Thursday night, but I appreciate you coming on, and now you can go back to your couch. Nap.
Happen again.
For Ray Clifford, who is probably celebrating because the Buckeyes opened up with a victory over the Irish of Notre Dame.
Kind of hard since my dad went to Notre Dame. So,
so it was mixed.
Yeah, I was cheering for Notre Dame. This is the one game that I cheer against the Buckeyes.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
But it wasn't. I didn't expect them to win. Ohio State were good. They weren't great either, but at least it was a good game.
I really like that Notre Dame coach. I think that these guys are going to play for that guy.
I think so far it actually went pretty well, I thought, considering it was in Ohio Stadium, which is one of the hardest places to play. So
that receiver that lit it up last year, I heard he got hurt in the first quarter.
He got hurt pretty early on.
Smith, right?
I thought, Njigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba. It looked like he rolled his ankle, but then he was on a bike, so I don't know. Maybe it was a knee or a hamstring or something like that. I mean, he took a pretty good shot on the sideline when they knocked on, but it was kind of a shot that was to his upper back, but he was on a bike riding. So I'm guessing it was either hamstring or maybe a knee tightness, something like that. I don't think it's going to keep him out.
Right. Before we close, I just want to mention we spoke about Joe Klecko.
Oh, yeah.
As a finalist, and it looks like, from what I've heard, it's not guaranteed, but it's like 95 to 99%. We'll know in January.
Yeah.
And I had heard through the grapevines there's a good chance that Darrelle Revis might make the Hall of Fame. He's first year eligible. And then I heard another rumor that the Jets might be playing in the Hall of Fame game next year. So if you're a Jet fan, I recommend you get your reservations in now. There's going to be a lot of green next year, and it should be a fun time. So with that, for Ray Clifford and Marty Schupak, we'll be on the air. We are 7 days away for kickoff time for the New York Jets against the Baltimore Ravens. Until next time. Hold on, Ray.